because I know how I can get, right? But here's the thing, Dr. Toole, you say something, and I had thought about, because you brought this up before, and I was thinking about that this morning. Why is it that women that have women-run countries are doing so much better and healthier? And I think it's because we give birth, right? And for the
No,
most,
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. I have a theory for that also. So
okay,
I'll tell you one definitely women are more smarter. There is no doubt about it. I really believe that, right? Number two is they are more inclusive.
exactly.
They generally have a habit of including, right? Number three, they will have a good decision. I mean decision making discussion before they act, right? And with them generally it is not about me too. It's not me,
That's right.
I. It is always we. So generally,
Generally.
women, when they speak, is we did this, we did that. It is not I did this, I. So that is the difference which makes. And I mean, just look at the countries where women leaders are there. Look what's happening with them.
Very, very different. And I think you're right. And I think that we just have that maternal instinct to want to not survive ourselves, but to make sure that life around us survives, because we do give birth and we don't want to give birth and have our babies die and have an environment where they're not. And if you look at nature in general, women, the female, they're always that nurturing agent. They're making sure the environment's safe for the babies.
Yes.
And the father helps too. You know, the fathers bring the food. I watch it in my backyard lately. It's like really cool, right? The male birds go out and get the worms and bring them back, and the mama is taking care of the nest. But there's that maternal instinct. But I think you're right. We're more inclusive. And we want survival for different reasons, right? And but I think that it takes a combination no matter what. And it takes a combination. This is what I came up conclusive of this morning, is like minds, right? Because I'm with a bunch of different guys on this show, with Ann Kit and you and Jim, but we all have this like mindset. We respect people. We care. We are concerned about whether people live or die. It's not about the wealth. It's about we can recover wealth. We can't recover health. And I think, you know, all of these senators and leaders who were saying, well, it's just a few people are going to die, big deal. That's not the mindset you
We're going
need.
to get our hair mussed a little.
Yeah.
That's from Dr. Strangelove. But I want to say that I've always, and I want to talk about me. I always tell men when the two most important words after I do are yes, dear.
Right.
And Lynn, can you back me up on that?
Dr. Tula, do you like that?
Yeah, I love Jim like anything. I mean, see, the smile on his face tells him that he's a happy man. And for being a happy married man, he has to really love his wife and respect her. And that's what shows on his face. I mean, you see it on his face. Every day when you see Jim in his new floral shirts, you realize that
Yeah.
And you know what?
That's what love
And
makes a
Dr. Tula,
man do, right?
And Dr. Tula, there is a saying in India that a good employee is the one who follows the rules in office as well as at home.
Yeah, rules it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you know what, guys? I got my napkins for the weekend.
Uh-oh. How about
Oh, she got bigger ones than me, Lynn.
I want to send some to India, so now that we can mail stuff if they haven't banned us, I'm going to
How
mail.
about your
You got
mask?
bigger ones than I did. I
How
didn't know
about
they
your
were
mask?
large size.
Or
Yeah, there's different sizes.
No,
But I also,
I
you
ordered
know,
the small one.
my box came in today, so I got my box of masks. And
Good.
Family Dollar Store.
that's right. I want people to know that, you know, of course, you know, I got to get my face masks. The other important mask, right? My face maintenance. Of course, we had a great person on the show the other day, but Dr. Tula, he can respect. I know that I want to take very good care of my skin and my face. And during COVID, it's weird. It's like my habits have changed. You would think I would establish even more better habits, but I've kind of went the reverse way. And
that's common.
That's
common. That, you know, because we're facing new things and we're not reacting in the same ways. We can't have the same habits that we used to have, and we're not replacing them with good habits all the time.
Yeah, I know. The only thing I didn't do is I didn't go eating bad foods. I really stayed away from the bad junk foods, and I really forced myself to buy a lot of more fruits and vegetables than normal. But staying at home, because I wasn't traveling as much, I told myself this is an opportunity that I can eat healthier for once, rather than traveling all the time and depending on whatever food I can get my hands on. I'm able to control that. So I've been very that way good, but like all my other habits of, you know, face maintenance and exercising kind of went out the door. And but
I wanted to ask Lynn, I did buy something else on the dollar store, and I bought these. And what are they for?
Well, are they Velcro?
They're Velcros. Yeah.
Well,
I thought they could hold my glasses on, but they can't do that.
Yeah, sure they can.
Tim, I have an answer.
Yeah, you put them. Yeah, you put them on the sides, right on your ears, and then you put the Velcro on the top of the of your glasses. And when you put your glasses on, they'll stick to your ears and they won't fall. Now, we might need Dr. Tula to be able to get the Velcro off of your ear once you put it on, but that's okay. You know, he might even be able to do a virtual operation to help you do it.
Get the line out first, and then he can work on my ears.
I just want to chime in and tell you something my daughter often says about women. She talks about the fact that both hemispheres of the brain with women are connected, and with men they're not. That's what basically she says, and therefore it's easy for women to process back and forth from both sides. But with men, we tend to only process on one side. So I have to ask Dr. Ahuja and Dr. Tula, is that really true?
So see, there is a lot of difference between women and men per se, right? My personal, leave my personal thing aside, because I have always been a very great proponent for women, because I always believe that, see, it comes from the family backgrounds also. So we in our houses have seen that our mothers were always very, proactive. My dad was also, when I was growing up, we used to listen a lot to my mother, take sound advice from her. This continued in our families. So, there is a lot of family thing also which comes into the cultures also. There are certain cultures where you don't listen much to women. And generally what I've seen over a period of time is that, see, you need to understand that women, leave aside the soap operas, which always tell them to be some kind of conniving and some kind of scheming ladies.
Yeah. Right.
Generally women are much smarter. And I believe that, as Kimberly said, if you look at the, look at the other species also. Look at elephants. They are headed by a female. And I don't think they do bad. I don't think they do bad at all.
So I think women are smart. I think that history books were written against us over the years, right?
So I presume it was a male bias. It was a bias, right? Because see,
and also, Dr. Tula, I think that there are more male historians earlier than female historians, and that's why written like
one reason. One reason is that also. See, there is a lot of things. History teaches us a lot, but it also tells us that what we should not be repeating or doing. Unfortunately, I've seen what has happened over a period of generations is that we read history, but we don't take the message out of that history. And we again repeat the same old mistakes of that history.
Yes, we are.
We do.
So we just don't want to. I don't know what is. So sometimes I really wonder, we are really that smart. Well, I now have started getting doubts upon the species itself. That are we a smart species? I think now I have got all kinds of doubts on the species itself.
I agree with you. I have to wonder sometimes where we're
People
going.
dumb with virus has absolutely, I mean, spooked us out like anything.
Yeah.
This is what I tell people.
There is one conspiracy theory going around, and that is that coronavirus male or a female?
Ooh.
So now,
Female, we're in trouble.
But
Yeah.
let's,
I
yeah,
think
Taking
I don't even want
taking
to-
consideration, yeah, taking
that
consideration
Dr.
of
Sam,
the
that Dr. Sam will have to answer because I'm out of that.
Dr. Jatin,
Dr.
what do
Ahuja,
you do?
over to you.
since we are talking about the woman empowerment, so I would like to, I would like to go with the same way only. That definitely it's a female COVID. COVID belongs to the,
That's why it's so dangerous.
yeah, it is so.
Well, it's
And
like
you must
the
have, yeah,
hurricane.
and you must be knowing the fact. The fact is, the COVID disease is almost 2 times more common and more lethal in the men as compared to the women. So again, the gender bias. Again, the gender bias.
Wow.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go. So we'll have to keep that in mind. I would have never thought of it that way, but yeah, that's a good point.
That means I have one more question. So, if we use a plasma of a woman, would that affect more than a male plasma for a treatment?
No.
So Ankit, you will be very surprised. In fact, see, today I was going through the paper that what are they telling about. So there was a very interesting one-liner in that women who have given birth to children, they are not candidates for donating plasma.
Oh,
So that is what I could read. I mean, I think Dr. Ahuja will put more light on it. I just could read that only. I first thought that it's a misprint and I went through it again. Right? So I don't know. I mean, there must be some reason regarding the end. So maybe
Woman of
either they have,
childbearing.
Please continue. Please continue, sir.
please, sir.
Dr. Tula, please continue. Now,
So
I
said
understand.
maybe I thought, please.
Go ahead.
Please.
That's
So,
interesting.
what I understand from you is that you were telling about the women of childbearing age are not supposed to give the plasma. You mean to say?
Yes, that is what it was on the paper. If I'm not wrong, Ankit has a Times of India today with him. So he may be able to read that.
Just like me, he's got his book out.
Yeah. Okay,
why would-
Dr. Tula,
In that,
are you listening to me?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah. So what I have listened to from you is that you mean to say that the women, those who are from childbearing age group,
No, who have
Hello?
had children.
Have
Who have had children.
who have had children. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
That we're
No,
not
no.
supposed to give plasma.
No. I don't think so. It's in contraindication. The contraindications
So there
are
was some-
absolutely.
I also was taken aback with that, but maybe I'm not very sure. I think Ankit is reading that. He will have an idea on that. So
Well,
it
don't
was
believe
today in
everything you
the.
read. You can't believe everything you read.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
why would that be? Why would that be?
No, so,
Yeah,
so
we're all baffled by that.
it may be due to some antibodies regarding some. There are. When we give blood and all, there is also those antibodies which are responsible for certain kind of.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
I prescribe it to? It is related to certain kind of antibodies which should not go within women who are supposed to give birth to children. So maybe it is something that I'll get into that. Don't worry, I'll come back on that.
That's an
Because I'm not
interesting
very sure
topic.
whether I really read it that way. Because there was something to do with pregnancy. I don't know whether it was for accepting or whether it was for giving. So there was something to do with that.
Yeah.
Wow, that is interesting too.
Well, you do go through-
Pregnant females, it is understood. Pregnant females, it is understood. They will not be allowed to, give or.
But Dr. Tula, before you go, I wanted to go back to your point about history, because history certainly forms us, but it can also inform us if we allow it to. And we have to pay attention to history and learn the lessons that it teaches us. But we're not very good at it yet. I think that maybe these pandemics are life lessons if we listen to the lesson.
I agree.
And
I think
and to add to that female thing, I just want to put to you one
So
point
can
which
I?
science has
Can
also
so yeah.
proven. That is when a male fetus is born, that means a male child is born, and a female child is born. If you look at the survival rate, right, given that both are kept in the same kind of conditions, or let us say sub conditions, the chances of the female surviving for the first 3 weeks is going to be much more than a male. So
We're weaker. We're the
male
weaker
children
sex.
in the, yeah, so they require more support during the early period, right? So that tells us that there is some amount of precedence to the fact that, I mean,
that's interesting. That is, what do we find,
yeah.
Ankit?
So
Hold
what
on, I'm
was
going to make
there,
it bigger.
Ankit?
Hold on.
Yeah. So in this, what is written for the females, Ankit?
Yeah, Ankit, can
I
you
just need
enumerate?
to,
Ankit, can you
can you
enumerate?
read?
Donate plasma.
read
Yeah, hold on, make it.
It says that you cannot donate plasma if you are diabetic and insulin. Your blood pressure is more than 140, less than 60, or more than 90. You have uncomfortable diabetes or hypertension with change in medication in the last 28 days. If you are a cancer survivor, if you have a chronic disease, and a woman who have ever been pregnant.
Wow.
So
There it
that
is.
is something which caught my eye. Yeah.
That is surprising. I mean,
But I don't think so. The Dr. Tula, the article which I received from the that is the letter from the LNJP, Lok Nayak Jayaprakash Hospital, that doesn't show that. That doesn't have it. I don't
So
know how.
this is in Times of India today, sir, if I'm not wrong.
today, sir,
And
today, India, page number 2.
yeah, and this is with a photograph of the chief minister inspecting the. I think either they have written wrong or I don't know. I mean, they something has
Sir, you
been.
know that they know a lot of things which you don't know. So that's how they work. But on the other hand, Dr. Ahuja, there's one more news just besides that article which says trial on 400 patients at Lok Nayak to check the efficacy of plasma therapy.
Okay. So I'll tell you one thing: the plasma therapy is still the benefit of plasma therapy is still debatable. It's not a proven therapy.
Right.
It's not a proven therapy.
Right.
Still, the ICMR, which is conducting the trial, the results of those trials are still needs to be, published as well as to show to the public. Still, they are under consideration. They're not out right now. Even the NIH, US, still they have not said that it is a proven therapy. But yes, it has been shown to benefit of moderate to moderate patient. But still we are getting treated moderate patient in terms of giving the dexamethasone or methylprednisolone steroid. We're treating it very effectively. We're not giving any kind of plasma therapy to our patient in my hospital, but still we are getting it treated.
And Dr. Ahuja, I have read it in a lot of American and European articles, media articles, and I think US is not doing any plasma therapy anymore because they think that this is not the right way.
Definitely, yes. I'll tell you one thing. What plasma is doing. Plasma is giving the IgG antibody. I hope you will agree to me that it is giving IgG antibodies. And what is the mechanism of ARDS or complication? It is because of the inflammatory response. Why inflammation in the body? When virus has gone after 10 days and body is getting short of the breath. Why it is so? It is just because of the inflammation. Inflammation is because of the rise in the antibody titers. And once we have the rise in the antibody titers of our own body, and outside we are further supplementing it with the antibodies of some other plasma. I mean, we are instead of making a decreasing the fire level, we are promoting the fire level. So I don't think so that IgG of some other person at certain stage will be of helpful. Yes, definitely in the initial part when there is no inflammatory response in the viremia phase, it can be of helpful. But once the patient has its own antibody, I don't think so it's of any help.
So, Dr. Ahuja, I have a question that if someone wants to give plasma or if you want to take plasma from some patient, do you diagnose that patient completely because that patient could have a lot of other different diseases or viruses or maybe something which never come out?
Right. Yeah, I think that is the standard protocol. Whenever the patient who has been recovered from the COVID-19 and those who have the significant amount of the antibody titers of the anti-SARS-CoV virus. So in that patient, they need to go for the routine blood testing, which we do it on the other patients also, those who need to donate the blood. So like uh, all the TORCH testing like toxoplasma, cytomegalovirus, rubella, and all the uh,
Right.
I mean cytomegalovirus and herpes. All those viruses needs to be syphilis, VDRL, malaria. All these tests needs to be done. HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C. Otherwise, you are instead of treating one disease, we are giving this some other disease. That will not make any sense.
Right.
Yes.
And apart from
But,
the yeah,
but
please.
Dr. Ahuja, does that blood reports is acceptable, or do you need to have undergo more testing with that patient as well?
I
Because
think the screening methods, all the tests, all the blood samples are gone through all the test of screening methods. The screening methods in our medical term means those who have very high sensitivity. If you talk about the COVID PCR, that has a very low sensitivity, 65%. But if you talk about the sensitivity of blood test, if you do it on the patients who are donating the blood, I mean, those have the very high sensitivity of more than 95%. The chances of missing the virus or any malaria or any other disease is very minimal. But yes, we do see patients who get infection after the blood transfusion. That cannot be ruled out.
and Dr. Ahuja, there's one more question related to that. We talk about plasma, and plasma is given just to create more antibodies. But
Yeah.
before COVID happened to someone, can we do those antibodies injection, or can we do some kind of other vaccines to make sure that we create antibodies and that person can survive with those viruses? Is it possible?
I didn't get you. Can you please come again?
So there are a lot of antibody injections where we can build a lot of antibodies in the body with vaccination.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's what the trial has started by the Bharat Biotech recently. The idea behind that is that to generate the antibody by giving the antigen in a very small dose or in an inactivated dose. So that is the concept of the vaccination, by giving the antigen in a very small dose or in a dose which is less lethal.
Okay.
We inject to the person, we leads to the development of the antibody. Although that antibodies are not very high in titer, but whenever the patient come in contact with the actual virus, that cells get stimulated and leads to the development of numerous, exuberant growth of these antibody levels in the body. That will take care of our body. So I think that concept, with that concept, already all the countries over the globe have started development of the vaccine in their multiple phases of trial. I mean, the India has recently started the phase 1 trial, and I think result has to be published before of the 15th of August, I think.
Okay.
Here's my concern.
That basically, can we test our own antibodies, get it test through a blood test, and get to know that whose antibodies is what number,
Yeah,
and then
sure.
based on that, create more immunity?
Just almost 15 minutes back from now, I received a message from one of my lab person that yes, we have started doing the lab test, who is giving the titer of antibodies of anti-SARS-CoV virus 2. So that
Okay.
will be helpful, to know that whether I am being exposed or whether I have been been get got the disease earlier and I have been treated. But the drawback with this is it can be false positive.
Okay.
I have been exposed to n number of coronaviruses in the past, which are not as harmful as the COVID is. But that can give a false positive because of the similarity between the structure.
Right.
The spike proteins are quite similar in the other coronaviruses, and by that it can lead to the false positive reactions. And
Yeah.
if we take this test in a in way that we assume that it is that definitely I'm now immune because my titers are very high, that can lead to detrimental crisis in the later on, because I will not be using mask, then I will not be taking care of my personal protective equipment, so that can land up in the any consequences in the near future. One thing. Second thing is the recent study published in the Nature. It has clearly mentioned that with the passage of time, our neutralizing antibody titers, they keep on going down. They keep on going down. So we should not be assuming that the once we have the IgG, it doesn't mean that it is 100% immunity.
Interesting.
And I have another concern.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Say that you have antibodies in your plasma for COVID-19 1.0, and I get infected with COVID-19 2.0. Are those that plasma going to help me at all? Because the antibodies are not helping me with the version of COVID-19 that I have.
So I think, sir, there is more than 70% homology is there between the two viruses, the SARS-CoV-1 and the SARS-CoV-2. 70% homology is noted between these two viruses. So the proteins, which is the outer proteins, the called spike proteins, the leaflet proteins, they have the very quite similarity between these two. The only difference lies that the SARS-CoV-2 viruses, it attacks the ACE2 receptors in our body. Wherever the virus find that the ACE2 receptors are there, it goes over there and attacks. Whether it's the lung, or it's the abdomen or tummy, intestine is there, whether it's the brain, whatever it is. So it's gonna go over there and attacks through ACE2 receptors. That is why the drugs are under development. They are in the pipeline to target those receptors. Once we block those receptors so that the SARS-CoV virus cannot bind that can be helpful as a therapeutic potential.
But if it's that's good for SARS, and maybe that's good for COVID-19. But what if COVID-19 mutates? I call it 1.0 going to 2.0. It's a mutated virus. Are you saying that similarity is enough for that vaccine to cover all of those mutations?
So I think every RNA viruses, sir, has the potential to undergo mutation. You name any virus which has the RNA. I'm not talking about the DNA viruses like herpes, pox virus, and you might be knowing what over here, face, over the fingers. Those viruses are DNA viruses. They don't undergo, any genetic changes much. But yes, at the same time, if you talk about the RNA viruses, look at the HIV. We're not able to make the vaccines so far so now. But why? The reason is the same, that it mutates very fastly, very rampantly. Same with the influenza virus, same with our COVID virus. So those viruses has the potential to change the structure.
So that makes me a little leery of this talk about a vaccine. Because there might be a vaccine.
So you might be knowing the flu shot. So look at the flu shot.
The flu shot every year.
You need to go for flu shot every yearly. Why? The reason is the same, that the virus change the structure. The outer proteins of the virus, they keep on changing. The strains keep on changing. That is why every yearly we need to go to the flu shot. That could be the same reason the COVID vaccine could be a failure in the near future.
But flu shots don't cover 100% of the different strains of the virus. So you may end up getting a flu shot that only covers 20%, or you may get one that covers 40%. And then as you were saying earlier, when you were talking about by giving plasma, right? By giving, thank you, Kimberly. You're not as old as I am, so you remembered it. But by giving plasma, okay, basically you might be giving somebody else another disease. My former business partner ended up having Guillain-Barré, which he got from a flu shot. And in fact, back in the 1970s, Guillain-Barré was very common with people who got flu shots. So number one, you may get, just like with plasma, you may get some other diseases. But number two, it only covers, some percentage of what's out there with the flu. So I'm not sure why. I know, Jim, you say you get a flu shot. I've never had one. The only reason why my wife ever had one was because she used to do pet therapy at the hospital, and they required it. That was the only reason why she ever got one. And now she doesn't, because she's not doing pet therapy anymore, because now maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Dr. Ahuja, you're going to tell me that I'm wrong, that I should get the flu shot. But you know, from my perspective, if it's not covering 100%, and there's a possibility of getting other diseases, just like you would get by getting plasma therapy, you know, why bother?
So in that context, I would like to give a very small example, sir. So everybody needs to become a billionaire. But if you're not a billionaire, you would be happy to become a millionaire. So same with the flu shot. So since you're not getting the 100% efficacy, yes, I'm admitting it. Yes, you're not getting the 100% efficacy with the flu shot, but definitely yes, you will be getting the 70% efficacy with the flu shot. And one more important aspect of the flu shot is, even if you got the virus and in your body, the intensity of the virus to cause harm in you, it will be very mild. It will be very, very mild. You will be getting mild fever, cough, and you will be recovered in 4 or 5 days. But if you don't get vaccinated and you are above 60 years, you are a smoker, you are a diabetic, you are a heart disease patient, lung disease patient, the chances of getting complications are very, very high. So from my side, being an immunization specialist also, I'm an immunization specialist also, I would emphasize over here that yes, you need to go for the flu shot every yearly. Who knows that whether you fall in the 30% category that has no efficacy, or you will be going to fall in the 70% category that will have a 70% efficacy. So even at the age of 34, I am taking flu shot every yearly. I don't want to, because on daily basis I'm coming in contact with the patient of acute respiratory illness. Who knows whether it's a COVID or it's an influenza?
So you got to be careful.
We can't take a risk.
Well, of course, part of it is you're coming in contact with patients, okay, which I don't, because I don't. I rarely go into the hospital. Knock on wood. Won't have to go in to see any of my friends in there, and I don't expect to go in there on my own. But I understand what you're saying. I have also known a lot of my friends who've gotten flu shots, who have ended up getting sicker because they got the flu shot right after they got the flu shot than they ever would have gotten if they just simply gotten the flu. And I mean, some have gotten very, very sick. So,
Lynn, I will tell you my experience, which is I was like you and I didn't get a flu shot, but my best friend is the dean at Stanford, and this is his specialty, looking at numbers and probabilities, and his analysis said, get a flu shot. So I've been getting a flu shot ever since he told me that. If he's getting one, I'm getting one. That was my way of looking at it.
But it's some like I have a rare disease, and for years they because I almost died from all the complications of medications in 2010. For many years they told me not to get a flu shot. They monitored me, right? But I also refrained myself from going into a lot of public places, and I took care not to. But I have seen and witnessed people get worse. But my doctors explained to me a lot of times you'll get the flu shot, but you have to read the disclaimers on the flu shot. If you have the flu on the day you get the shot, you're going to get sicker. See, a lot of people don't know that, and it's going to take a while for the symptoms to catch up. But if you have the flu, or if you get it in that 2-week window after you, and this is what the doctors explained to me, if you contract it in that 2-week window after having the shot, you can still get the flu, and it can be worse. So one of my doctors, because I was very fearful of the flus, especially when the bird flu came around, and I asked him, why are so many people dying from just the flu? And he said the majority of the reason why people die is they wait till it's too late to go to the hospital. One, when they're getting really, really sick, and two is dehydration. He said majority of them die from lack of, and he said it is because when you, especially if you get the stomach one, you start throwing, you just don't do the fluids because you're going to throw it up. But there's ways to absorb fluids and hydration without making yourself sick. And we just need to get in that practice and learn how to do it. And that's something I've learned how to do. There's also a miracle anti-nauseous drug out there that the doctors will occasionally prescribe you that will like halt your, it's not good for you, but it will halt your body from throwing up like that, and you can rehydrate yourself. But they told me, and I it could be wrong, but they told me then it was hydration. So if you can just continuously hydrate yourself, if you get to the point of dehydration, to the point that you haven't had any fluids in you in 2 or 3 days, anyone's going to tell you you're going to die.
Yeah.
Because your body's going to. And when my son got sick and he was in New York, and it got on to the second day, I forced him to go to the hospital years ago. I said, you're going to the hospital now. One, because I can't be there. And two, you don't want to wait until it's too late. And again, and the first thing they did was hydrate him.
Yeah.
The first thing they did. So
Ahuja, I was also thinking about shingles. Because
another one, yeah.
At a certain age, they recommend that you get a shingles vaccination.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I got one, and now they have a better one. And the friend that I was just talking about got it, and he had a lousy experience the first day after, and so it's kind of made me a little tentative about getting the second one, which is supposed to be better.
Yeah, I tell you the reason why. Because the science is the ever-evolving field. Earlier, we have the vaccine, the name of Zostavax. That is the live vaccine we need to give through the subcutaneously, under the skin.
Right.
But now we have the recombinant vaccine, which has the efficacy of more than 80%. In fact, I will say more than 90%. The company claims its efficacy of more than 90%. And it's a recombinant vaccine. Needs to give an intramuscular and needs to give it 2 doses. And
right.
that has the very good efficacy. But to talk about me, I'm waiting for that vaccine to be launched in India. I'm not getting that vaccine in India right now for my patients. But yes, when I was in States, I've been to Canada also for my training. In both the countries, it's available. But in India, I don't know when this company will going to launch.
But you recommend getting it?
Yeah, definitely yes.
Because last year, I'm very happy. It's a 2 series. You get the first one, and then you wait 8 weeks, I think it is, and then you go get the second one. So
absolutely,
I went ahead and did it. And that was, I had to get permission because of my immune system, and my doctors approved that one. They said that one that they could approve for me. So yeah.
If you look at the agony of the herpes zoster pain for every patient who is more than 60, 65 years and has the underlying comorbidity, like mainly the diabetes one, and those who develop the shingles, I mean, you can't imagine the pain they undergo. And later on, the complications, the zoster activation, the complication, the post-zoster herpetic neuralgia, which is known as PHN. I mean, that is terrible. Patient claims that even after 2 to 3 months, they keep on having this severe, sharp, burning-like pain. That somebody is burning under the skin.
So
it's better to have the dose of vaccine, and just small pinch, and you will get away from those.
So let me ask you, if somebody has had shingles, does the vaccination still help somebody who's had shingles?
Yes.
Well, yes. I'll tell you the reason that those who have the shingles, they have the propensity, but because you never know that shingle is a virus which is hidden in our cells. It can get reactivated. Suppose it is reactivated over here, over this part of the body.
Right.
It can later on get reactivated over this part also. You never know.
Okay. The reason why I say that is I had shingles when I was 18, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have a shingles or chicken pox?
I'm sorry?
You have the shingles or chicken pox?
No, I had shingles. I also had chicken pox when I was a kid.
Okay.
But it was interesting because I'd never even heard of shingles, and the doctors diagnosed me as having had it. And so it's interesting because I was not aware that if you've had shingles, you should still get the shingles vaccination. And I am over 65. I'm not going to tell you how much.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you how much.
Little.
But, I would talk to your doctor about it. That's what I did. I spoke with my physician. Of course, I have to. Anything I want to take medicine-wise or anything I have to review with my doctors. And I think anyone should. But I would, because shingles is not, I mean, you've experienced it. It's not something you want to go through again this late in life. And I agree. I think I remember the doctors telling me, just because you've had it on one side of your body doesn't mean it can't activate on the other side. I think it was mind-boggling to people, who had chickenpox, and they're like, "Why should I have to get another vaccination or anything because I had chickenpox?" To find out shingles, it still lives in you.
Yeah.
It still lives in you after you've had chickenpox. So
the virus remains inside your cells, and whenever it gets the opportunity that your immunity is getting down, it gets reactivated. And the moment it gets reactivated, always and always it's going to give you a complication and trouble.
Right.
That's the thing.
Okay.
yeah, no, and I noticed after hearing all of this, Jim's putting the CBD patch on his head.
Oh, yeah.
I got to take it again. Oh,
Okay.
Mm.
But this is valuable information, and thank you for sharing
Absolutely.
with us.
It is, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
These
My
are
pleasure.
things I would not consider on a day-to-day conversation, and I think it's very important. When they get the COVID vaccine, that'll be something that I want to evaluate deeply before I have to inject it, because of all of my other problems that I have. I have to be very, very careful. And what's weird is my problems are spinal. They're not like normal autoimmune deficiency problems. That I don't have any of those. My immune system is decreased because of my problems in my spine. So these are things, but I always tell people, ask your doctor. And if you don't like the answer you got with one doctor, go to another. And, that's what my dad said one time. He goes, eventually you go to enough doctors, you hear what you want.
Well, it's quite common. It's quite common in India. Just like window shopping, we have doctor shopping.
Yeah, I like the way you do it in India, because Ankit tells me the whole family goes with you. So your whole family can be your advocate with you, right? Like they can be taking
Dr.
notes.
Ahuja would agree that if one of the patient would see Dr. Ahuja and get himself diagnosis, 5 family members is waiting outside, and then everyone will ask one by one that Dr. Ahuja, how it happened and what we need to do and what's the suggestion.
Yeah, we need to counsel each and every person of the family. We need to counsel. And someone from, there is also known as America syndrome. What is America syndrome? The doctor from America will call to us. Yeah, hello, doctor. I am from America. One of my father is admitted over there. My uncle is admitted over there. And he has the symptom of shingles. So what do you think? This is, Western syndrome, America syndrome. The doctor from America will call to us.
There you go. I love it. So the American syndrome, and
I think you guys got to get paid more.
Yeah.
But
You got to talk to everybody.
doctors are very, very patient, and they listen a lot more than they speak, and they know their work, and that's how they're saving a life right now. And especially the mortality rate in India is as good as in any other country.
Yeah, I think it's lovely that the family gets involved, because one of the things I learned when my mother was very sick was my sister and I teamed up.
Yeah.
But you mislisten to something, right? There's so much going on and you're taking notes, and one of you is going to think to ask the right questions, right? So I think it's lovely. I think it's beautiful. I wish we would do it more often here. All too often I'm going by myself, a lot by myself, because family has to work. And so whenever a family member gets very, very sick in my family, I try to volunteer my time to go with them so I can help take notes and learn.
It's so important, because if you're the patient, even if you're listening to the doctor, 2 minutes later you might forget what he said. Because
Absolutely.
You're nervous.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Especially if you're not well and then they gave you bad news. That's not a good thing to be by yourself.
No.
And I wish our doctors would recognize that if they're getting ready to land you with some bad news, that you need to be with somebody. Because there's nothing worse than to sit there and get hit in the gut, and you're a strong person anyway, but then you got to go home and explain it to your family, and you forgot, like you said, Jim, and you forgot half of what they told you, and all you heard was the bad news. So, it's always, to me, I love the idea of take your family to the doctor with you. When Aunt Kate told me that, I was almost laughing, and then I'll go, that is the most beautiful thing. Oh my gosh. We need it, maybe even if you could just hire people to go with you as part of your system. One of the things we're not going to have to worry about in America is they're revamping our insurance system. And they've hired doctors. They're planning for this. That we don't know about this because we're all distracted with COVID and protests and riots. So we're all watching all of this, that they're doing all of this in the background. So 5 of the major insurance companies have been selected. So they're going to be the power of our country.
Oh boy.
And this is, I'm not making this up. You could go out and research it. And they're hiring doctors so that you can't say, no, you can't tell me no because you're not a doctor, right? Because I've thrown that in their face many times. So they're hiring doctors to be on their staff and deny you. And they're going to do away with Medicare and Medicaid, and they're privatizing it, and it's all going to be converted into the 5 major companies.
So as you may remember, I gave this example once before about a fellow whose sister was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and she wanted to get a second opinion, and the doctors in the insurance company said absolutely not. She needs to be treated. We believe the diagnosis, and they're going to treat her. It would have cost over $100,000 to treat her. She got a second diagnosis anyway, which he paid for his sister. And the second diagnosis was she didn't have the pancreatic cancer. They could have paid $2,000 to $3,000, maybe $5,000 for a second, basically a second diagnosis that would have saved the insurance company $95,000 to $100,000, but they didn't particularly care. And one of the issues that I have been told by a number of people, because there were some big insurance companies that were headquartered here in Philadelphia, and I was in the healthcare business for a period of time. One of the big issues is that a lot of the doctors that are making the decisions are doctors who have never been able to make it in private practice themselves.
Right.
And so here they are not making it in private practice, and they're the doctors who sit at the head of each particular specialty, making decisions for the insurance companies. And your comment troubles me, Kimberly. That truly.
Well, the thing is, they're not making decisions for the insurance company. They're making decisions on your medical care. And it's not about medical care. It's about money. But they're going to determine. So they've never seen you. They've never met you. They never physically saw you breathe, heard your heart, any of that. And they're going to determine whether you do have cancer or not. They're going to determine whether you need treatment or not. And I don't think anyone needs to be doing that but the person who physically sees you. And if you decide to go somewhere else, the insurance should pay for it, just like they used to do back in the day, right? Back in the day, we didn't have any problems getting medical care. And if you wanted to go get a second opinion, you could afford it. But today they make it impossible. And that's the problems that we reside with in the U.S. I love the way India is doing it. I think we should follow that practice. I also think if you can't get family to go with you, there should be a team that you can hire to go with you to help you, especially if you're very sick. But yeah, we need to take a look at what's going to happen in our future. It concerns me. I'm struggling right now finding insurance. My insurance comes to an end, and it's going to cost me $2,000 a month.
Yeah, Cobra. Yeah. I was going to say that you're so right about the family needs to be there, but until we legalize same-sex marriages, the doctors would not allow your partner to come and listen.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
This has been one of the things that, you know, it's been a growing pains that this country has been going through to define family in a different way than the traditional way. And you know, but I have to say that this conversation, the entire conversation, is making me hope that Rosie, the sock puppet Rosie, comes on afterwards, because I need some cheering up.
Well, that's going to be this weekend, and she will. I don't know if they're going to come and advertise today. We haven't. I haven't seen them this week, but definitely we've got great entertainment over the weekend. Sasha's got his chess show. You've got yours during the week to cheer us up. So these are not supposed to be sad information. This is supposed to be empowering information.
That's right.
Just
That's
like,
right. I gotta get my head on.
Dr. Jatin comes on and he shares this empowering knowledge that we can take with us and say, you know what, I'm going to reconsider that vaccine, because he mentioned all of these great things that it can do for you and why it's important. And again, you know, don't hesitate to discuss it with your doctor. But like my dad always said, if you didn't like what that doctor said, go to another one.
And I'll tell you one more thing, that I'm talking to Dr. Ahuja regarding how to travel safely around the world post-COVID, and what are the ways to get your vaccination done.
Absolutely.
So maybe down the line we will start a show with Dr. Ahuja discussing about it, because right now we are not getting time to work on. Right now we are not getting time to work on that immunity app we discussed, but maybe we can start that and also talk about safety or how to travel safely, because there are different species around the world, and there are different viruses in different countries. So how you can travel safely and protect yourself, and why vaccines are very important than other things. And I think vaccine is something which is kind of a prevention before something happened to you. And if we have that vaccination done, I think we are safe. What do you think, Dr. Ahuja?
I think everything has a double-edged sword like action. So same thing goes with the vaccine also, what I believe.
Yeah.
I think the vaccines which have been developing these days, the modern vaccines, they have the more of therapeutic potential, more of effect as compared to the side effects we talk about. But yes, at the same time, someone has to be cautious enough looking at the batch number of the vaccine, what is the expiry date of the vaccine, and whether the vaccine is from the batch which we are receiving it, are they claiming any kind of side effects in some other group of patients. So these are the things which need to be considered. If there is suppose a polio vaccine is going on, and there is an outbreak of polio vaccine which is causing harm to the certain group of children, so I think those batch group of vaccine needs to be eliminated from the market. So those things are need to be considered. But definitely, yes, vaccine play a major role. So far, we are not getting a lot of infections since from our childhood. It's all because of the vaccination. It's immunization. So that's a major role in our life. Same, the child and old people, they go in the same way. So both are without teeth, the toddler and the old man. So in both the condition, the vaccinations play a major role. Whether you talk about toddlers,
and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm very curious because I love the idea of vaccinations, especially for traveling. But what about testing? Are we going to have to evolve some sort of testing before we travel?
I think.
But suddenly, I think with the advance in the diagnostic workup, we'll soon have the good, the concept of immunity passport is still going on. We can soon have the checking of the neutralizing antibodies. Once we have the level of neutralizing antibody positivity in a certain group of individuals, those can be allowed to travel, and rest of them needs to follow all the precautions like using of face mask, using of the maintaining social distancing. These things needs to be maintained, because those are the ones which are non-immune. They are susceptible population,
right?
And those who are immune with the antibody in their body, they can, allowed to go anywhere in the world.
No, I agree, and I think that and I agree with Ankit. Maybe you can do a show that can guide us into how we can do international travel again. and also just guide us more on how we manage the infectious diseases, that because there's going to be more than just COVID-19. There's going to be another outbreak of something, and everyone is scared because they're looking at November being another wildfire of what we have right now. And I think that there's just some smart ways that we can manage this. I didn't get to talk about Lynn. Lynn, when I got kicked out of the show, did we get to talk about the dollar store?
Not a whole lot. Jim tried because he wanted to find out what was happening in Philadelphia. But
let's real quick. I want to share with people that I know that because Lynn is a great sponsor of our show, and especially for financial literacy. And the 5 important things is not about how the money you make, but it's about how you spend it, right? But it's how you spend it, save it,
invest it.
Make sure you
pay taxes, and pay forward.
And they sponsor and donate money towards us from this month until the end of August. They are donating 100% of the rev that they're making towards Money Masters, financial literacy, Twix card. That's right, get your Twix at the dollar store. They've got 4,300 items. What's great about it is you save time. That's another valuable thing. Time is money.
Time is money.
So you don't have to travel anywhere. You save gas, and you also save yourself from being around a lot of people during the COVID outbreak. One of the things I am honored that they do.
Before we start, I'm getting a lot of questions from viewers that what is the cheapest item in, or maybe the the costliest and the cheapest item on dollar store.
What is the cost of the cheapest item? Actually, I've never.
What's the cheapest and the cost of the costliest item at dollar store?
Well, what's the cheapest?
I will answer that question the next time. I know we have a number of $1 items.